Hi everybody, Matthias here and welcome to Learn Music Theory in under 10 minutes. Today you'll get a kickstart in music theory and you will learn about the major and minor scales and how to pick out these scales in basically any key. Furthermore, you'll learn how to pick out the chords from the different scale degrees. I'm Matthias, då kör vi! Excellent! Right, so let's begin this music theory for beginners by looking at the two most important scales, the major scale and the minor scale. So the major scale is basically all the white keys on your keyboard. Right, so C major, pretty basic, but what if we want to create a G major, a F major or a D major? In music theory we have the step counting system to help us create any scale in basically any key. And the two important steps is the half step and the whole step. A half step is one note away from our previous note. So if we're at the C, it will be the C sharp. That's our half step. And the whole step is two steps away from our previous key. So from the C, 1, 2. That's our whole step. So now we can use this step counting system to analyze our C major scale to see where we have half notes and we have whole notes. And we will be able to create any scale in any key. So first out we have the C, then we have a whole step to D, a whole step to E, a half step to the F, a whole step to the G, a whole step to the A whole step to the B, and a half step to the C. So now we can use this whole and half step counting to create a D major scale. So first we have the D, a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and finally a half step. So that's our D major scale. Okay, so that's all bright and fancy. So let's now go dark and look at the minor scale. The C minor scale. And if we analyze the step counting here to create the minor scale in other keys. So we first have the root, the C, a whole step to D, a half step to E flat, a whole step to F, a whole step to G, a half step to A flat, a whole step to B flat, and a whole step to C. Right, so we know the steps for the natural minor, so let's now create an F natural minor. So we practiced the major and the minor scale. Let's now look at how we can create chords from these scale notes. To create chords from a scale, we can use chord codes. And the code for our major chord is 0, 4, and 7. And if we count the notes here again, 0 is always our root note. So in the C major, we have the C, and then 4 steps up, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we have our third. It's called the third. And then we count to 7 from the first note. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there we have our major chord. And then the minor chords, we count 0, 3, and 7. So 0, our root note, the C, and then 3, 1, 2, 3, that's our third. And then 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there we have our minor chord. So now you can use this counting system to create any chords in any scale key. Right, so let's now look at creating chords from the other notes of the scale. Right, so let's boot up a DAW. In my case it's Bitwig Studio, and I laid out the D minor scale to have in the background. It's a good practice as a beginner to have the scales in the background when you're working with the chords and the notes of the scale. So if you recall the minor scale, we have the root note, the tonic D, then we have a whole step to the E, a half step to the F, a whole step, half step, whole step, and a whole step to the D again. In music theory, you also name these notes, these scale degrees. So we have the D, which is the root, then we have the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, and the eighth, the octave. Now I'll also make a copy of this octave of scale notes and copy that an octave up. So we have 2 octaves of the scale. And I will put that in the background. So now we can work on another track here and create the chords for the different scale notes of the scale. So the first chord in the D minor scale is D minor, and for that we use the first note, we skip the second note, which is the E here, we use the third note, the F, skip the fourth note, the G, and use the A. So here we have the D minor chord. So now we can just repeat this process across the following chords. So the next chord, the second chord, is the E. We will skip the F and use the G, skip the A and use the A flat. And now this is an interesting and a little bit odd chord. So that's actually a diminished chord. Now the diminished chord has a different step count, so we have the first note, which is the 0, then we have 1, 2, 3, which is the minor third, then 4, 5 and 6, which is the flatted fifth. Let's create the third chord. We have the F, skip the G, use the A, skip the A flat and use the C. Woohoo! So that's interesting. Now we have a major chord in a minor scale. Now it's easy to believe that since this is a minor scale that we would solidly be using minor chords, but that's not the case as you can see here. We're using both diminished chords, minor and major chords. Now for the fourth chord we begin with the G, we skip the A, use the A sharp, skip the C and use the D. The G minor chord, another minor chord. Now for the fifth chord we begin with the A, skip the A sharp, take the C and skip the D, take the E. Another minor chord, the A minor chord. Then we have the sixth, which is the A sharp or the B flat. Skip the C, take the D, skip the E, take the F. Another major chord here. The next chord, we take the C, skip the D, take the E, skip the F and take the G. Also another major chord here at the seventh chord. And then we have the octave, which is the D, A, which is again our D minor chord. Right, so let's listen back to all the chords of the D natural minor scale. Fancy. Now you can just repeat the process for any key and pick out the chords of the scale. Now it can be really good practice, especially as a beginner learning music theory, to go through a few different keys, pick out the major and minor scales, and pick out the chords of the different scale degrees. Now, if you're all new to my creative channel and want to learn more about music theory, sound design, music production techniques, and all things creative, I can highly recommend it to go to my website, morningdewmedia.com, and sign up. That way you also get the free Creative Booster Guide, and you won't miss out on any of my upcoming videos and articles. Right, so if you have any questions on music theory or this video, please let me know in the comment section below. Right, so that's a wrap for this Learn Music Theory in under 10 minutes. Hope you learned something, please let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and like, and ring that bell. Yeah, I think that's all for today. See you